Hello guys, good evening, I am Teecee and this is the first time I'm trying to make an English video for you, an English deck check, deck profile, whatever you may call it, simply because I was asked to when I made all my videos in German. Some people are asking me, could you please do an English video so I can understand what you are saying in your videos? Yes, and I'm always trying to take good advices and making the best of it, and we will see what this can get me. Yes, probably you will have the chance to find out what I'm saying here around these videos and all about the strategies I'm going to show you in the further videos. Well, now it's almost half a year, maybe more, that I started to make my own video channel here with power-staples.de. It's a German website, naturally, but you will find out more, and possibly I'm going to make it to an English page as well very soon. We'll see about that. Yes, and now today we have a new deck here for you. It's a legacy deck, and it's, yes, you will probably also have seen Goblin Chavez strategy, and also are able to storm and make a great storm count. Yes, and you only have one land in it. Yes, it's also the same like many other decks that have only one land. I have another one land Belcher with red and green, and also decks with 0 lands. This is also possible to build this deck with these cards with 0 lands, and also maybe other decks that only run like all spells, for example, like the Oops All Spells variants that do exist and I also do play. Yes, and this one is with 1 land, because the Goblin Chavez, as you probably know, says that you can only have not that many lands, because when you fire it, when you're trying to win the game, you need to have almost no lands, 1 land or better, no land in your deck, and then you can win straight up by roosting your opponent with the power of the Goblin Chavez. Yes, so that's why you do not need that much land. Today we're going to have a very special deck for you, not the deck that you already know, like only running tendrils and always storming around and doing it first turn. Yes, this deck can always trying to do it first turn. It really happens really often that you can run all the way through and having it first turn winning. Yes, but this deck is very different to the straight up Goblin Chavez decks that you probably know from the internet. This one runs creatures not to attack. Of course not, and also not really intending to block, but these creatures are there for several reasons in this deck. Yes, we're starting from the top. We have the Phyrexian Walkers, also the Shield Spheres and the Ornithopters, 10 creatures that cost 0 mana, and also having 0 power, so they're doing not that much for you, let's say. But in this deck it's very powerful to run these. Yeah, you will think what's going on with these cards, for especially like Ornithopter. Yes, you've seen that in like Ravager decks in Modern, for example, but not really in a really strong strategy in Legacy. Also not intending to attack with it. So what can you possibly do with an Ornithopter? And also with Shield Spear, this is rarely seen in any kind of situation. And Phyrexian Walker, the same thing. Yes, the reason is that there are cards in this deck that need creatures to be sacrificed. For example, Culling the Weak, as you will see very soon. And these cards are intending to do this because you can play them for free, and then when you run it, you can also create more storm count by playing them. And when you cast it, you can also use Culling the Weak, so you can sacrifice a creature in additional casting cost to paying 1 black mana, and then you get 4 black mana to your mana pool. For example, so this works really great with a strategy to getting like 7 or more mana to play the Goblin Chavez for 4 and to activate it for 3, trying to win the game with this. And also you can use cards like AdNauseam, Forgotten Gains and Tendrils of Agony in trying to do a lot with this mana. So that's what these cards are for. You can also try to block with it. For example, sure, like the Shield Sphere, you can really use them to block like small creatures, but it's not what in Legacy often is the problem. So you really do not need it essentially. But you could, of course, try to block with it. That's for sure. Also on the top there's flying. Probably you need it, but I guess in Legacy it's not that much interesting. And Culling the Weak really is only good when you have a creature. So we have 10 of these, possibly trying to get one together with Culling the Weak and then creating mana. Yeah, that's really great way to generate mana like this. Also, of course, a Dark Ritual. Yeah, of course, this is one of the basic strategies, trying to get mana and trying to play a very great Storm Count, using Tangles of Agony, for example, or other cards like Grape Shot, whatever you want to play. So that's a very good way if you're playing black and needing black mana. So this is the way to go. That's basic. Also, Cabal Ritual is very strong. It's for 1 genetic and 1 black mana. So generally you can only get 3 black mana to your mana pool, but when you reach threshold, and this requirement is met when you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard. 7 or more, that can be any kind of card. Also, you will only have to count them. It doesn't matter which cards you get. Creatures, artifacts, it doesn't matter. And then when you reach threshold, you can use that card as the best ritual in the deck. It's a kind of a super ritual, because the Cabal Ritual then produces 5 black mana instead of the original 3, which is great. For 2 converted mana costs, you get 5 black mana. Yeah, that's really, really strong. Yes, and now the best ramp card in the deck, of course, Lion's Eye Diamond. Yes, having a huge playset like this is not very easy today. Yes, I brought them many years ago. Yes, and this card is really heavily broken. For 0 mana, it's just like playing Black Lotus, for example, and Lion's Eye Diamond is just like that. It's not kind of like Black Lotus, of course not, but in this deck it's really very strong. Because when you put it down, you can sacrifice at any time, and when you do, you have to discard your hand. And when you do this, you get 3 mana of any 1 color to your mana pool. And that's very strong, because you can react on things. You can try to focus this, you can put cards on the stack, for example, like Infernal Judah, and then you sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond in response, and then you can make the very great little combo out of it, very great synergy, because you discard your hand, then get 3 mana to your mana pool, for example, black, or whatever you need, whatever you said you wanted, and then the Infernal Tutor comes down, and then when it resolves, you can use the Hellbent ability of the Infernal Tutor, which I will show you later. And when you do this, you have no cards in hand. When Hellbent kicks in, then you can search your deck for any card and put it into your hand, instead of doing the little less effect from the Infernal Tutor generally when you have cards in your hand. So that's really great. You can discard, and then you get mana, and then you can get a search effect with Infernal Tutor. So you can get any card you want and still have the mana, and still it's the same turn when you can have the same storm count naturally, and then you can go on. So it's not really you get 3 mana and you discard your entire hand and have nothing. So this can change all that. It can change things. And that's really great to draw extra cards, because the Infernal Judah can get you cards like AdNauseam and Ill-Gotten Gains, and you can go on with your turn. It's not over when you discard your hand. That's what you always need to have in mind. Yes, and that's the great way to generate mana. You have Culling the Weak, you have Dark Rituals, you have Cabal Rituals, you have 4 Lion's Eye Diamonds, and then the Lotus Petal, of course. That's a simple card. You can sacrifice it when it's on the battlefield, and you can get 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Then it's done, but it's great because it also, as the rituals, also you can really great fill your graveyard, because you need threshold for the Cabal Rituals to work greater. So you really need to get cards in your graveyard in the first turn, and that's what just can happen when you play cards like this. You get 1 mana, of course, additionally to the land you play, of course, and then you can make great ways and great plays to get better cards, like drawing into AdNauseam and Ill-Gotten Gains, gaining more cards, and then, yes, it's really easy to overwhelm your opponent in the very first turn. That's what this deck is made for. Yes, and you also have more ways to generate mana, of course. You have Chromemox, another playset. This is also great, because you can put any card from your hand, which is not a land, and you can imprint it into the Chromemox, and when you tap the Chromemox, you get 1 mana of that mana color to your mana pool that this card can produce. Yeah, this deck does not really have more of these cards, like Manamorphose or something, that have multiple colors in it. It only has colorless and black, so of course you need to get a black card into it. Cards you do not need, like maybe a Duress, or maybe something you cannot use or do not want to use. Possibly a land grant generating green mana is also possible when you do not need a land grant later on, for example. And then this Chromemox can generate you 1 mana, and of course it's for 0 as well, so it's possible to play it very soon and you get many advantages out of it. Yes, and also Mox Opal. This card is only here at 3 because it's very possible that you draw more than one. And it's a legendary artifact. Of course, the legend rule changed, so everything is getting better for Mox Opal naturally. But really do not need 4 of them. 3 is almost enough in here. Yes, and you can play it. And if you have Metalcraft, if you have 3 or more artifacts on the battlefield under your control, then you can get 1 mana of any color to your mana pool as well. And this is also very, very great possible because you have the Phyrexian Walkers, the Shield Spheres, the Ornithopters, and so on. Mox Opal is an artifact, same as well. And you also have the Lion's Eye, Lotus Petals, Chromemoxes. It's really, really easy, like almost automatically, to reach Metalcraft like this. If you have any kind of great hand, then it's no problem at all. So that's the case. And you can also, when you draw another one later, then you can sacrifice the first one that you played before when the legend rule appears. And you can save the new one, and you can tab it again. And you can get more mana as well for nothing. It's great. It's really powerful in here. So 3 is the greatest number, I guess. 4 is too much here. 3 is all fine. Then you have the Cabal Therapy. Yes, now a little bit discard. Of course, you really need it. This deck does not run Force of Will in something because it's a black deck. But possibly your opponent does have cards like Force of Will and Misdirection and things that you do not need, do not like to see. For example, maybe he runs a Stifle or something like that, which you want to pick out of his hand and discard it. So the pre-negators, you really need them. Yes, so Cabal Therapy is almost great here in 2 different ways, working all together with this deck. First, of course, it's a spell you can play to reach your storm count, for sure. For 1 black mana, you can name a non-land card and target player discards all cards with the chosen name. And that's really powerful because if you do not know what the opponent is playing, you can try to dig out what he's playing because afterwards you can see his opponent's hand. For example, you can say Force of Will or something, and then you can see if he has it. When he has it, he has to discard it, and if he doesn't have it, then first it's great because he doesn't have it, and also you can see your opponent's hand. And that's not all. You can also flashback the Cabal Therapy. And that's very powerful because you have creatures you can sacrifice. Then the cost is you sacrifice a creature and then you can flashback the Cabal Therapy, remove it from the game and has this effect again. Because that's great because you've seen your opponent's hand already, just like a moment ago. And then when you sacrifice a creature that you do not need, like Phyrexian Walker, Shield Sphere or Ornithopter, then it's very simple to mind out what your opponent has in his hand, and then you can sacrifice your creature, flashback it, and you will get the card opponent has under guarantee in his hand, because you've seen it. You know what's in his opponent's hand. And that's very powerful. And if you find out what the opponent is playing and you guess right, you can get 2 cards or even more out of the opponent's hand. 2 different kinds of cards, types of cards, name of cards, whatever you call it. And you can also try to make your way clear so that you can fire away with your Tendrils of Agony and Goblin Chavez, one of these. And yes, when you try to dig around cards like Stifle and Force of Will and something like that, you will be safe in trying to win the game, even if your opponent would have had a great card against you, because you discarded it previously before you're trying to win at the same turn. And that's why this card is here very important, guys. Also, you play Duress. Sure, it's a great card as well. You can also run cards like Teecee, but the problem is you lose life and you do not get any much more, because the rest also discards your opponent's card. One card that is not a land and not a creature card, and you always want to get, yes, cards like instants, cards that destroy you, that stop you. You can discard artifacts, and that's probably mostly what you're going to discard from your opponent's hand, what you most fear with your strategy, because when your opponent can interact to things, can use cards that are very strong, like cards with flash and something probably, but most commonly the problem is that he has like a counter spell like Force of Will, and you can discard it very soon with Duress and do not have any other problems. You don't have to find out if your opponent runs cards with 3 of a mana cost or less, like with Inquisition of Kozilek, which you need to discard cards with only 3 or less mana cost that is only not a land, and also things. Yes, so you can discard like everything but a creature, but creatures do not really need to be discarded this way, because you can play around this. Creatures do not really kill you, I guess. So I guess the rest is just fine in here. Then we have Infernal Judah. That's also a great card. At first you can get for 1 genetic and 1 black mana, you can get a sorcery with the effect that you reveal a card from your hand, and then search your deck for a card with the same name as the card you revealed and put it into your hand. That's firstly great. You can get cards that you cannot get enough of, like Culling the Weak and Dark Ritual, Cover Ritual, maybe Lion's Adamant as well, or cards that can put down later on. Cards like Chromemox, Mox Opal, you can try to find out more of these. That's mostly a great way to get what you really need, and you need to build around mana and get 7 or more mana very quick, so that you can fire the Goblin Chavez at your opponent. So it's often a great way to ramp mana with this spell. But that's not all. As I mentioned, Lion's Eye Diamond is the key here. You can also use the Lion's Eye Diamond to discard your hand, and when you reach Hellbent, the ability that kicks in when you do not have any more cards in your hand when this card resolves, then you can also use the special ability of this card. Then instead of getting a card that you revealed from your hand, you can just search your deck for any card and put it into your hand. Your opponent does not even know what it is. And this is also very important. So you can use the Lion's Eye Diamond when it's on the field, then you play the Infernal Judah, and then afterwards you sacrifice the Lion's Eye Diamond, and then you discard your hand. You're planning this, so it's not really the problem, I guess. You can use all your ramp mana and creatures and artifacts before you do this, of course. And then when you do this, you can discard your hand, and then afterwards the Infernal Tutor comes in, because it resolves afterwards. Sure, because you're reacting with the Lion's Eye Diamond ability, which is faster than the effect of the sorcery naturally. And then when you do it, you can have no cards in hand, and then you can search your deck for any card, like an AdNauseam or whatever you need, like a Goblin Chavez, a finishing card, or whatever you need, and then try to go on or trying to win the game like that. And that's a really powerful combo, I guess. And also, if you naturally do not have any cards in hand, you don't need Lion's Eye Diamond to do it for you, because if you have all the cards necessarily sold out in your hand, if you used everything of that, you can play all your creatures and also all your Mox Opals and Chromemoxes and everything like that, or your discard spells, and then your hand is empty naturally. The last card in your hand is Infernal Judah, then you can play it and search your deck for a card even without the Lion's Eye Diamond used. Now the AdNauseam, this is also a powerful card, which is also an instant, really great, but in this deck it's not really necessary to run instants like this. It's not a really combo deck like it was used with the real AdNauseam deck, like it's used in Modern. AdNauseam is just to put into mana slots and also trying to fix your hand and trying to draw multiple cards, simply because you have so less mana costs in your deck. So many cards cost 0 or 1, and everything, a card that costs more also tries to win you the game. If you get more cards like this, you're almost guaranteed to fetch a Goblin Chavez or Tendrils of Agony or Ill-Gotten Gains or something like that. And all the other cards cost either 0 or 1 mana, and that's quite alright, because you can reveal the top card of your deck, and then you can put it into your hand, and you also lose life equal to its converted mana cost, and you can repeat this process any number of times, as much as you want. You can do it over and over again, and that's very powerful, because you can reach a total hand, you can even draw more cards than you could handle, and then you can play them all out in the next turn when this card ends, with the effect, if you skip it sooner or later, do not want to do is, yes, you can make yourself into very, very bad situations then, of course. You can reveal multiple AdNauseam and lose a bunch of life very soon, but that's not really the thing. I guess most of the times you will have much fun having always these cards with 1 or less converted mana costs, and then it's very simple for you to get your combo going. Sometimes you only need to draw 3, 4, 5 cards, and then you can do it, you can have it. And then when you flip over the Goblin Chavez, reveal it and put it into your hand, you're trying always to win now, because you have a bunch of other cards, you can do mana with it, and then you can finish your opponent, because all you need is 4 to play the Goblin Chavez and 3 to activate it. And then with the land out of it, with a land grant or something like that, if you put your special 1 land out of the deck, your winning chance is like 100% if you have 7 mana and your opponent doesn't have a counter spell, something to stop you. Then yes, what's the problem? So it's always worth playing AdNauseam. It's your card drawing spell of this deck. You really need it. Yes, enough said. Then you also have ill-gotten gains, like the 5th card drawing spell. Of course, ill-gotten gains is another way to draw cards, like the same way, because each player discards cards in their hand for 4 mana, that's a sorcery. Then each player discards all the cards in their hand, and then each player returns up to 3 cards from that respective player's graveyard to their special hand back. So the thing is, you can use the ability to draw cards and also to generate mana and something, and then you get 3 cards back. That's even very powerful if the opponent doesn't find a way to discard your cards from your hand. You can get it back. So that's powerful to have in mind. That's not because you need AdNauseam or something, but other cards like Goblin Chavez and Tendrils of Agony, when they are countered or stifled or anything like that, or maybe possibly discarded from your opponent's hand using cards like Teecee and something like this, then you can get them back. That's very powerful. Also, you can wrap mana with it, because you can get back cards like Hebel Ritual, Light's Diamond, and so forth. Yes, that's very powerful. You can get tutors, whatever you need in the current situation. Whatever cards are put into your graveyard previously, you can get them back. Of course, opponents can also get cards back, like Force of Will. That's you privilegedly discarded, so you have to be aware of that. But that's not really the problem. Also, the sideboard Translator of the Void, if it's really a problem, you can handle this problem. Yes, and so it's also like a card drawing spell. You get 3 cards that help you get more cards, draw more cards. And that's also a greatest way to have more luck for AdNauseam in your deck. It's kind of the 5th AdNauseam in this special combination of cards. Then we have the finishing cards, of course. The Tendrils of Agony also works as kind of the 5th Goblin Chavez, because it's kind of like sure that you always need to win with the Goblin Chavez. You're trying to get it out. So because that's why Goblin Chavez is 4 times in the deck for copies and only 1 Tendrils of Agony. You can also play a split like 2 and 3, whatever you need, whatever you want. But this combination works best for me, I say, because Tendrils of Agony also gives you the possibility to win if your opponent has multiple counter spells in hand. Because the Storm ability cannot really counter it, because whenever a player generates a spell, then the Storm count gets up by 1, and then this card copies itself for another time as soon as you play it for any card that is previously played, for any spell that hit the stack up to then. And the count is rising because you're playing so many cards for 0 mana and something like that, sacrificing creatures and getting more mana rituals out of it, like cutting the weak and so forth. And then the stack is really high, like 10 or more, then you're going to win the game when you play Tendrils, because your opponent cannot really screw you with this. You can only stifle the Storm ability. That's the only thing you can do. You can have like a trick bind or something. But this is not really the problem, because you have to discard cards. You have the Cabal Therapy and the rest to stop your opponent from having this little dirty plan. And if he doesn't have it, it's most common that he has a card like Force of Will and something. And that's the thing, that you have another card that is not really able to be countered like this. Because Tendrils of Agony has a Storm ability, and your opponent loses 2 life and you get 2 life in the process. And this effect copies for any card previously played this turn, any spell, better said. And then you can have a great way to stop your opponent with this powerful mechanic. Yes, and that's why you can really overwhelm your opponent having counter spells. That does not really stop this deck. And also Goblin Chavez. That's the very winning card of this deck, of course. Yes, like other cards that run Goblin Chavez, naturally you do not need to have more than 1 land, better no land in your deck when you fire it up. Because you can play it for 4 and then charge it for 3. You can activate it if you have 3 mana of any color. Then you can tap it, and then you reveal cards from your deck until you reveal a land card, or that you reveal the whole deck. That's the other case that can happen, of course. And then, when this card reveals, process ended, you can fire that much damage equal to the number of cards you revealed from your deck this way to your opponent, or you can also destroy a creature like that, because you can do the damage on a creature as well, like a Platinum Angel or something. But naturally, you always try to win the game, trying to fire it out and trying to destroy your opponent, of course, with this card. So if you get your Bayou out of your deck, which is helped by Land Grant and other card drawing cards and so forth, when the Bayou is out of your deck, then the Goblin Chavez, when it fires, it deals like 50, 40, whatever you need cards, and especially if this card is revealed so much, then you can fire like 50-40 damage right to your opponent, and you're trying to win the game this way in the very first turn. And that's what this deck is all about. That's what this goal is from this deck. And also the land grants here provide only a way to get your Bayou faster, of course. You can play it not really for its mana cost, it's totally never did, I guess. It's only here you can get its alternative cost. You can reveal your hand if you do not have a forest in your hand, and then you can get a forest out of your deck. This is also another spell that you can play to reach your storm count with 10 or more counters, like that, when you're counting the storm count. And you can get your Bayou because it's a forest and a swamp naturally, and you can get the Bayou out. Other way you can draw it as well, and you can play it because no other land is in your deck. When you play down the Bayou, you ramp for 1 more mana. That's even better than playing a 0 land deck, I guess, in this combination. There are other cards like Oops or spells that you really can play with no lands in the deck. You cannot have any cards in the deck, then the combo is not working. In this case, you could run lands, because you can always also win if you only have 1 land in your deck. And when you fire a Belcher and it's like the 20th card in your deck, then you also fire it 20 cards at like 20 damage to your opponent. This is what is working as well. Yes, and because the land grants are so easy to cast and you can get the Bayou and play the Bayou, then it's really simple to find out that in most situations you do not have any land in your deck, and then winning with Goblin Chavez is even more simple, like it's a lethal anyway when you fire and it's not destroyed and countered or anything like that. When it resolves, it ends the game, I guess, because you fire like a save 40, whatever the cards or number of cards in your deck remains is equal to the number of damage you fire to your opponent, and this is more than enough naturally. Then we have the sideboard, of course. Every good deck needs a sideboard. This one is not an exception to this rule. I'm running for Laydown of the Void, which is also not even used to destroy your opponents from having like dredge cards, and also using cards with his graveyard and having to do things that come back from the graveyard like flashback and everything more. Because it's not the same thing. You can also use it not to destroy your opponent, but use it as a combination. Also that he doesn't get cards back with ill-gotten gains, that's another thing. But an also important rule is that you can combine it with this great card, the Helm of Obedience. This is also powerful. The card to play for 4, it's an artifact. Then you can play X mana, and X may not be less than 1, so you pay 1. Cannot be 0, because there's an odd card, it says that way. And then you can tap it, and the opponent puts that many cards, like the X, so 1 cards from your deck to the discard pile, to his graveyard, so long that unless he reveals that much cards, like at least 1 creature card, or 1 card equal to the number of the X you paid, so 1, and this card put into your graveyard, opponent's graveyard. And with this resolves, then it doesn't go further. But with Laydown of the Void, the cards are not put into your opponent's graveyard, but they are removed from the graveyard and put into the exile instead, so that your opponent doesn't ever reach that requirement. So this goes on, and he mills his entire deck. That's very powerful. So if you're going to use the Laylands of the Void anyway, add this to your deck here, and you can have another combo, another great way. Also a great way that you can possibly found a way then when your opponent tries to steal the winnings for you, because probably he puts like a pithing needle and naming Goblin Chavez, just smile and put this on the battlefield. This could be really important for you, knowing that, and you can get free wins out of it possibly. Then you also have Witchbane Orb, which is also a great combination that you do not lose to any Storm decks or another Goblin Chavez deck or whatever. You can also try to protect yourself from discard spells and so on, because you have so much mana combinations here. You can generate mana as fast as Havoc in this deck, like Culling the Weak or something, so it's really easy to put these down. And when you have 1 Witchbane Orb out, it's really hard for your opponent to burn you out and something like that. He has to get rid of the Witchbane Orb first, and Even if he packs a lot of sideboard stuff like artifact removal, if he destroys this one, he possibly cannot win in the same turn against you, and then you can have cards like Goblin Chavez, and he possibly doesn't have like a Closing Grip to stop it, and then you also win. That's also great. Then we have one Grafdigger's Cage, in addition to Leylands of the Void. Yes, because Dredge is a thing in Legacy, of course, and other things cannot be really win with this if you have it out. Cards even when you're coming out of your opponent's deck. Possibly he's playing Elves with Company and something. He cannot really do it with when this card is out. And also, of course, against the Dredge problematic that you lose like almost on turn 1 or 2 against this deck. Possibly even if you trying to win on this, then you have this card in addition to the Lands of the Void to make sure that Dredge doesn't get you. Then I have the 4th Duress, of course. 4 Cabal Therapy and 3 Duress in the main deck. That's the 4th Duress, why not? Possibly very useful against certain matchups. Then you have the Extended Swarms, 3 of. This is also a great card. A creature, also for green, because you can support green by having the 2 land grants. And the Bayou, you can get the green mana from, and also from the Lotus Petals and so on. From Mox Opals, you have a really great combination of cards that can get to your green mana, of course. And this card is a 0/1 flying creature, and when it attacks your opponent, then afterwards he cannot play spells this turn. That's kind of like a running silence, a silence with legs. So when you attack it, even if it doesn't do any damage, that's not the case. That's not the thing why you're running this. You do not need to run it for damage as well. But when you did it, when you attacked with it, and it's flying, because it's really great that your opponent can possibly block it with, or with small creatures or something like that. And afterwards you cannot cast cards, and so that's great for you cannot cast any combination, yes, of spells like counter spells and stifled and trick binds and something, and no silences and anything to stop you. So that's very powerful. Then you can make your whole combo and opponent can not do that much. And then we have the Closing Grips. That's a great card. Yes, also one of the reasons I run green anyway here. I could also run it with a swamp or something. It's also powerful in here because you need the Closing Grips to destroy your opponent's artifacts and enchantments, and also it cannot be countered, and also it's very hard to deal with because it has split second. It costs 3 converted mana cost. That's the thing. It's not very hard to have that mana positions here when you have that many cards that produce mana. And this card is powerful because your opponent cannot really find a way around it. He cannot misdirect it properly. It has split second. He cannot counter it. And then you can destroy opponent's cards really if you need them. And yes, you can also win against cards like other Goblin Chavez decks and so forth with this card. It's really powerful. I bought it in certain matchups. These cards are very great in this deck. Yes, that's the deck as it is right now. I do not know if I can make any more of these videos for this year, but 2017 is coming, alright, and then I will go on to make more videos, of course. Yes, please, if you like it, if you like the videos I make, please support them by clicking the like button. It would be great, I appreciate. Then I will make more videos coming up in the next year. You'll try to have a great day today and go have fun and use your last days before the new year starts, and probably we will show up and we will see you next time.